are your responses to big situations? How are your responses to small situations? Well, emotional regulation is like a safe flying zone. When something really big comes at you, you can respond appropriately. But sometimes when something small comes at you, you react too big. Well, emotional regulation is when you're able to stay within a flying zone, absorbing the big problems and absorbing the little problems and giving appropriate responses. But sometimes we live in such a state that our mind and our bodies give too big of emotions, or maybe we're shut down and we can't give a correct emotion at all. Dr. Lori is going to teach us about dysregulation in this message.
We're going to make sure that we're processing the here and the now. And if the past is invading our present, we're dealing with those things. But somebody with trauma reactions actually flies like this. Look at this image, that there's a traumatic event or a trigger. There's developmental trauma or shock trauma. And if somebody doesn't resolve those things, then this is what their life looks like. They go up and down. They're hyperactive or hyper aware. And there's elation and mania and anxiety and panic and rage. And then they may spiral into depression and disconnectedness or exhaustion or numbness, or maybe they just stay up. They're stuck in high or hyper arousal. And this is what their life looks like. And think about this with me. Not only does their life look like this, but if they have kids, if they have friends, if they have significant others, anyone who gets in their plane, their life will look just like this. They will experience this. And this is not the way that we're meant to live. And if I don't do what I need to do to heal from that, then everybody else who chooses to become part of my environment will experience this. And I will then cause that and produce that upon the people that are in the plane with me. And so how do we start? We've talked about regulation. We've talked about how do I stay in the present, in the here and the now? How do I stay in the here and the now enough to say, okay, my lid is flipped. For some reason, I'm safe now, and I start to investigate and look around. And so on your slide, there's some really good ways that we could stay in regulation. And the first thing is your happy place. So remember I talked about shaking up the bottle of pop, and then you put the lid on and off and on and off and on and off. When you start to look at things, if you're starting to get dysregulated, if you're starting to go somewhere else, you can't heal through and process through something if you go somewhere else. If you produce those same chemicals in your body. Now, it could be uncomfortable. You could be crying. There could be some fear. But you have to look at it as an observer. And if you start to go somewhere else, one of the quickest things that you can do is think about a happy place. Where's your happy place? Is it on a beach? Is it on a mountaintop? Is it free falling? Is it flying? Is it in a chair? Is it by a fire, by the campsite? Is it roasting marshmallows? And so if you activate your happy place, is your happy place and with Jesus, where's your happy place with Jesus? Where do you feel the closest to him? And if you're connected with him. And so how can you activate that? And when you have activated that, what activate means, it's not that you have a head knowledge that I love to jump off mountains, or I love to climb and rappel walls, or it's that, well, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that smell like? What does that taste like?